the Americans. Well, now, Mark Fallon is the director of Club Fed and visiting scholar at John Jay College of Criminal Justice. He was also the US government's chief investigator responsible for bringing suspected terrorists to justice before the military commissions at Guantanamo Bay in Cuba. He joins us from Georgia. Mark Fallon, thank you so much for your time. First of all, we should say that Mullah Baradar wasn't in Guantanamo Bay, but it may surprise many of the leadership, many people to know that many of the Taliban senior leaders did spend time in Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah, that's right. They certainly did, and many of them spent many years there.
Can you tell us what experiences they would have had in Guantanamo Bay and how they then managed to get out?
Yeah, well, a number of circumstances. Many of the people that we had at Guantanamo were there based on bounties. So they were sold. It was kind of a human trafficking system where the U.S. government was dropping flyers to pay for prisoners. And so many of the prisoners at Guantanamo were sold by warlords and wound up there. Many of them came through the Bagram collection point at Bagram Air Base and were subjected to some brutal treatment there, as well as when they got to Guantanamo. And that type of treatment has scarred many of them. During one of the hearings, one of the what were known as the Taliban Five swapped for Bo Bergdahl in 2014 by President Obama. He had said that there's a 25-year war between person to person, village to village in Afghanistan, city by city, province by province, tribe by tribe. If you think that's a crime, then every person in Afghanistan should go to prison, or you should bring them here to Guantanamo. Guantanamo to them and around the world is a symbol of torture, injustice, and oppression. So as long as President Biden keeps it open, and it's a subversion of the rule of law, he's going to have a lot of trouble with legitimacy and negotiating with people, especially those who have been to Guantanamo and seen what happens down there.
We've heard from the senior leadership, the Taliban spokesperson specifically in that unusual news conference earlier this week, that there won't be revenge, that everyone will be forgiven. But given what you're describing about some of the experiences in Guantanamo Bay with the Taliban leadership, do you think that is believable, or will there be some consequences now for the US?
No, there's going to be consequences for generations to come. When we invaded Afghanistan and operated called Enduring Freedom, we went in and then we started to become the aggressor. We embraced cruelty as policy, and human subjugation was rampant in the prison systems there, at forward operating bases, with prisoner and detainee treatment. And so what you have now is you are going to see that not only did it harden resistance, but it brought fighters to the battlefield. So even in Iraq, when we were sustaining our greatest losses and casualties of U.S. and U.K. forces there and coalitions, the number one reason that foreign fighters came to the battlefield was Abu Ghraib and Guantanamo Bay. So if you want to harden resistance and you want to have foreign fighters come to the battlefield, what you need to do is employ torture the way it was indiscriminately utilized by the U.S. and coalition forces in Afghanistan.
Indeed, there were leadership in the U.S. who believed that Guantanamo Bay was the right move, especially at the beginning of the war. I mean, what kind of reprisals can the U.S. expect specifically, do you think?
Well, right now we're worried about reprisals to get our personnel out. But there is going to be conditions in Iraq that are going to be horrendous for decades. I mean, the Taliban is known for the ruthlessness, and they believe we are known for our ruthlessness. And so we're going to have a lot of issues trying to negotiate with the Taliban right now because we lack legitimacy. And we still have 39 people at Guantanamo. many held in indefinite detention without trial. So as long as that remains a symbol of U.S. torture, injustice, and oppression, we're going to be negotiating from an inferior position because it's a manifestation of hypocrisy of imperial rule, and that's going to challenge the U.S. and the U.K. For decades.
Mark Fallon, Director of Club Fed, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.